Wait on your sister dead. I want me a son. I cannot dead tent this. I'm sure to get food in them. Yeah, auntie. When you listen to the camera and walk far, and know I video me a video now. Go by bush if you don't want a video. Who don't want the camera when you listen to walk far and go by bush? Wale waka wale mgana mali ganda.
It's a beautiful sound. Serving
we go, man. I shall marry that. Who don't want a video when I see me in the bush here?
Thank you, man. I just want to respect the part.
Now we've got him back. Now we I'm tired of people that are gone now. And a viral to the world. Yeah. Why? Go on, yes, sir.
Right.
Mickey and where I go.
Right.
Outside. Hey, get baby. Yeah, when the cook woman, she vote and gone. And look at PMP woman where that mash up the place. And look at PMP woman where I go out there sitting the flick on her head, I go out there sitting over here. Yeah, man. There I go out with her cell phone. Don't say what I said. That is it. Victory. I mean, I have to enjoy some of the victory, you know, that who win, you know. Yes.
I'm taking place
Yeah.
the take away from the unity online in the space where we're no longer advanced, we're no longer fighting
Hungry, no.
we had from far away where and I think I don't know who should get credit for that. Not knowing who should get the credit for that, we're going to praise the Jamaican people. You know, in the days it wasn't like that. So I'm pleased to see that, you know, we can share spaces and have a more unified connection inside of different political places. That's something like wherever the PNP is as that close and there is anonymous the Jamaican people such as. And that's what's going on in the perspective. I think that's what happens. Sure.
Yeah. Voting must be done now.
Very soon, I'll be closing the doors to my leather bag boutique forever. After years of pouring.
Right. Are young people energized, particularly with this election cycle? Or why do so many of them remain disillusioned then?
Because we don't have civics in schools. How many classes? We don't have an engaging civics program in our schools. We don't have it starting from from your, was it early childhood education until high school. Most of us don't understand the rudiments of politics. We don't understand what the difference is between a governor general and when we talk about a president. And that's one of the things I have been asking for when we talk about a public education campaign, because most young people don't understand how the system works, what their role is as a voter. And I think one of the things coming through this election is an opportunity for whichever party wins to really get down to the brass tacks and do some more work in public education. It cannot hurt. In fact, you're asking people at 18 to vote when most persons at 18, by the time they're 16, they have to vote who, where. And you're left to the household, to the community, the constituency to tell you who to vote for. You're not given the tools to understand what your role is as a citizen. So I take the point. Youth engagement is important. How it's being done has to improve. And I want to throw something out. We talk about low voter turnout. Have we considered lowering the voting age, the age group, voting age? I went looking to see how many areas or whichever jurisdictions have 16. Austria, Argentina, Brazil, Ecuador, Nicaragua, Germany, Scotland and Wales. And then, of course, I think the UK also have had discussions about lowering the voting age. If we want to increase participation, we have to start engaging the youth. We must have a civics education campaign going from young to old, different age groups, so people understand their role.
Paul, actually, I've had the opportunity to interact with a few political campaigns, the management team, and I've noticed that a lot of the people on these teams are young people. Why, therefore, are we having a hard time getting out the young vote?
Times have changed, The internet, the cell phone, makes for easy communication. People in Jamaica here, they don't bother watch local television anymore.
It's TikTok.
They're on the phone, man. People say still watch local news. No, people tell you what is happening in America. People tell you what is happening in British football. People tell you people start to gamble now. In fact, they're betting on what is happening elsewhere. Look here, politics is not really that interesting to them, They can get by without politics and politicians. They look on politicians as a set of opportunists who give you promises that they can't keep. They give you lyrics. Come there with politics, right? 6 or 1, half of those, not the other. Look here, you see if you know.
6 for a 9.
6 for a 9, right? Why you want more time, right? 2 terms are enough. Thief no likes a thief with long bag. Thank you very much. Corruption is inherent in politics. Everywhere in the world you have corruption in politics. Well, if after 10 years you haven't stolen enough, then you're a done Steve. Time to change for another thief.
So, Paul, I want to follow up on your social media question, but I want to throw it to Clyde first. So, I have seen both political leaders talk about housing.
Yes.
They're reaching out to the young people, different policies on either side. Is it enough?
All right, I just want to quickly refer to the comment about the engagement of young people. Now, this And I say this because of the Donaldson polls in terms of how it has looked at it. So the last polls showed 35% 18 to 24 intending to vote. 35. 42%, 25 to 34%. A decline in percentage points on the poll conducted August 2 to 11. A decline. So as the race progressed, they are on the poll findings are losing interest in terms of turnout. On the contrary, Donaldson found for the category 45 to 54 and 55 to 64, over 64% increase. In the case of 45 to 54, 67% no saying, I intend to vote. And 64% of the 55 to 64 saying I'm intending to vote. And a growth of 10 percentage points on average, 8 percentage points between the August poll, the early one, and the now poll. So as a strategist on both political parties, I've been looking at these polls and saying, this is interesting. So I've been making sure that on my list, all of the golden, all of the older people, all of them. And oops. So that's how I would be positioning in terms of strategy going into the thing. No, I would be very concerned if I'm on the other side of the young vote, because the JLP on the polls are attracting more of the younger votes, and the PMP attracting some more of the older votes. So if I'm on the JLP strategy team, I'm looking to see if I can shore up the young vote in every single constituency, because that's where my power is and strength is.
All right. So go ahead, Daniel.
I hear we talk about these polls, and this is why tonight's outturn is going to be important. Have many of the persons who've indicated that they intend to vote been enumerated?
Yes, well, I think...
no, I'm just saying generally.
Yes,
so
yes.
when you talk about the numbers of persons who intend to vote, notice what the young person said.
Yes.
People, how they get enumerated. Do they know their names are on the list?
Well, a lot of younger people don't know this. But the old time people, the 40 and the upwards, we all know this.
Exactly.
We all know that you must take the opportunity to go and enumerate, and you have to verify your address and so forth and so on. So you're correct on that.
I did it as soon as I turned 18.
Yes,
there's some young people who are interested
so
in
the
it.
question is, which I find politics is so interesting. Since 2016, the JLP recognized that the younger vote, but I don't think they did enough and have done enough amongst this demographic to ensure.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
That's exactly what we'll see.
So lively discussion, as you can see here. So we are going back to our focus group to look at something that we brought up earlier, the perception of corruption. How important is that to the Jamaican electorate?
Integrity, lack of corruption. I remember Jamaica for a number of years now. We're sliding on the corruption index, sliding down, wrong direction. And we have legislated ICC, right? Integrity Commission. But that coming like a joke, basically. Because when the head of the country cannot get his 3 years now, not signed, and then the whole thing of investigation, I'm not investigated, but you're referred to the FID. So speak truth. Come to the people straight. That is obvious that something is wrong. So integrity to me is number one. If you can't be straight about matters related to your finances, etc., income and so, who should really trust you? Come on. We are not fools. We are not fools, So I think politicians need to stop the foolishness and come straight to people. It's better you come straight and say, look, well, there are some issues I need to straighten out. Humbly, the Bible says, he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. He that exalts himself shall be abased. So the people watch the debate and we can see through the smoke screen.
Corruption definitely plays a significant role in my voting choice. And I believe that the reason why this generation doesn't really see the necessity to vote is because, they see it as this gimmicks thing, because when Portia Simpson Miller came out and said, we found money, and then you have the Petrojam scandal, the same thing with the Integrity Commission a while ago, Rural Read, and the whole thing with the education. It's it's just like what's even the sense of voting when it's like all parties are the same. And really and truly, you don't, when somebody asks you why don't you want to vote, you don't want to just say, oh, all parties are the same, but what's the common between the two?
Corruption for me is very mid. I think Jamaica has a culture in which corruption is endemic. So people will tell you that they care about corruption, but behind closed doors, if you ask them what they would do if they were in the position, they would do the same thing. A politician will come to see you, and their reasoning is, if I am your political representative and I'm not driving a Benz, that means nothing is not going on for me. Who wants to vote for somebody that can't afford to buy a proper car? I think it's important to recognize that in our culture, we have a eat a food mentality. And that eat a food mentality means that while we think high level corruption, because it looks bad to the international community, is important, on the lower scale, people in our country are very willing to take bribes, cut corners. We don't have a culture of integrity at home. We see the people who are corrupt being rewarded. And so young people say, this is the way. This is why young men are chopping the line.
Pasta makes you pasta.
Barilla tastes like family since forever.
What we call corruption today is a constant feature. You had a man called L.C. Mackenzie who gave some money to Wilton Hill. And Wilton Hill says, he's my friend. My friend can always give me a gift. So when is a gift not a gift? But that time, we all said, yeah, there was Minister Lightburn, who was known as Mr. 10%. You never gave him money in his hand. When you went to visit and you wanted drinks, he says, the ice is in the freezer. That meant you carried the money and put the money in the freezer. And then you had your drink, and then, so you didn't give money to him. There have been politicians who have paid money for the sons to get jobs in certain ministries, and in fact, being directors. You had Michael Manley getting a big box of cash, put at his feet at the annual conference. That behavior is now not tolerated at all. Let me say, there have been moves afoot to put some guidelines in store. And it's a farcical move because politicians are supposed to spend a certain amount. Politicians, everyone conforms to it, and it's a ritual when they fill out the form, right? Nobody ever spends more than the stipulated amount. But there is nothing. There's a group called Friends of the.
That's right.
XYZ.
That's right.
So you are your friend, yeah. Yes, and your friend can pay any amount of money, give you anything he wants. He may not give you holidays. You can stay in his house. You can use his car, everything. You can use his wife and his girlfriends. Oh. Right? Party. You get many things, man.
Okay.
What has happened? It is now being the people who are the beneficiaries are now complaining that the ministers and those in power and authority or can do things are demanding so much, not only of the elected ones, even the ones who are not elected. You have to pay. And no,
the question
you have to pay them to get anything.
Paul, the question is the corruption perception so significant as to change the outcome of an election? So hang on. I think Daniel wants to come in on that. Because if the election is close and the corruption perception is of significance, then it could move it one way or the other. And the question is, how significant is corruption?
And who is more affected? Which party is more affected by that?
I think where you want to do it now is to look at what's before us. This is the first time in our history where you have a prime minister who is in the throes of defending his reputation for allegations of illicit enrichment. It has split the population, with those asking for greater accountability against those who come around to coalesce to protect him. That's where it is. And the reality is that it is not that it is a perception anymore. The documents are there to demonstrate that there is an investigation into the prime minister because there are questions surrounding his wealth.
But one would say it's not conclusive. They didn't.
But that's not the issue. The fact is that you do have those investigations. It's been sent to the FID for investigations, and then you've had that. What do you call it? That thing that occurred where put somebody in that looks favorable to him. So even if it is that it's FID, if it's not, there's no charge because they said we need further information. Yes. The fact is that there are questions surrounding your own integrity. And that is a question that we've never had to answer before because in this jurisdiction, the leader doesn't step aside. In other jurisdictions, I bet you any dollar I have.
From a mere accusation.
From a mere accusation, you step down and wait the outcome and then you will decide whether or not you're going to go back or not. Here, it doesn't happen. And so you have those around him who are saying, oh, no, can't touch my 1 p.m., no, go so. Yes. There are those who are saying it's wrong because every other Jamaican has to declare when they go to the bank their source of funding.
So, Claude, he's taken a beating on it. Has he defended himself sufficiently?
Well, can I tell you, I'm not his lawyer to determine whether he's defended himself or not. I must tell you, bringing the judicial review suit has amplified the issues in the society because it is now available for everybody to read the affidavits. That's the evidence sworn before a JP filed on paper that the Prime Minister and his legal team sought to have some aspects of it struck out as being scandalous and so on. Before the litigation, you wouldn't have access to some of this information.
Right.
Now this information is filed in court. So I don't know what's the end game because even if the Prime Minister succeeds in quashing that report, they still have to go back to answering the same set of questions that had been asked previously. And it would have about 2 more years to go after that. So I don't know what
don't forget what happened with FID, because the international community has often recommended that it becomes an independent body.
Absolutely.
Not one that's attached to a ministry. Yes. So the questions now will arise. You see, it's a catch-22. The labor rights are saying we're defending our 1 p.m. There has been a historic growth. All is going well. The PNP are taking up what many persons in civil society, whether they're on the voters list or not, they're the ones who are saying this don't look good and now are making this demand. Whether it comes out tonight into the ballot is going to be decisive. But it doesn't change though, Paul, the impact that people will be demanding greater integrity and accountability going forward.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
You see, like, Jamaica is a very complex society. Drug dealers really weren't afraid of Jamaican police, Is when you had a thing called extradition, right? That is when scammers and drug dealers, get freed, right? Catch them freed. It's the same thing with these corrupt beneficiaries. United States is watching, and United States is aware. You can think you're smart and you can get very wealthy and you don't know where you get your 3-4 motor cars and where you get your wealth from. When United States decides to look here, Mr. Politician, you can't hold office any longer.
It depends on if that lines up with their own interest. That's right.
There you go. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Remember, they're the ones who also indicated and have made steps to say bribery is acceptable. Gifts
that is why
gifts are acceptable.
That is well aware. There are certain people who had promising political futures that don't have it anymore. Don't have it anymore.
So here is what.
Go ahead, Claude.
And I say corruption perception because the process is ongoing, as Daniel just pointed out.
Right.
The file has been sent to FID for further investigation. The investigator from the Integrity Commission said, I just don't have the capacity within the Integrity Commission to deal with what needs to be dealt with and so on. As we all know,
they hired an
yes, but I'm just saying what he said in his report. Okay. As we all know, the Prime Minister is testing whether or not sending it to FID, it having come to Parliament, is a breach of the procedure in relation to that. That's what he's testing, not whether they have enough or not, just testing that. That's what judicial review is about, not the substance, but the steps and the procedures, whether they were followed by law. Because remember, that report did not go to corruption prosecutor for a determination in the integrity commission and a charge. It didn't go, that's a normal route. Investigate, send it up to corruption prosecutor, director of corruption prosecution. That person then determines whether or not they have enough evidence to proceed on the charge and so forth and so on, before it's tabled in parliament. So that's what's being tested, and that's important for us to make sure we understand what's being tested. The question of whether or not this court is not going to decide on the substantive questions as to whether he can answer the questions concerning the source of income that is at the heart of some of the issues that he's facing now. But it is bad. And what we will know, that there's a cloud hanging over insofar as an investigation. We will know later the extent to which Jamaicans still consider this to be significant. And I just close on this one thing, corruption. When you said drugs earlier, Paul, the society is a little complex because the man in my country, you know, in Hanover and Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth Center, now I'm going to see them ganja farming as drugs, you know. So during that time, that's correct, they would only see cocaine as a transshipment point, not them ganja farming. And if anybody know anything in Jamaica, a whole heap of people build them edifice and them castle on the basis, and a whole heap of you go school and turn doctor, lawyer, and Indian chief on the basis of ganja farming. A long time Jamaica should have liberated the ganja farmers.
So I want to turn to another. Go ahead.
Before you finish that, it's not only the Prime Minister one, you know. If we are to believe Marky G, right? If we are to believe what he says, right? He says there are 10 individuals from the other side on the investigation. 10. So we're talking about something looking like Alibaba and the False Seas.
You know, I wouldn't go as far as
I'm not going there.
After we're looking at something like.
So I want to go on the flip side now. So, given the integrity divide, where, you know, some people say like the Integrity Commission was wrong, or, you know, didn't do things the right way. Is there a concern? Right. Is there a concern about the confidence that the Jamaican people will have in the Integrity Commission itself?
Yeah, man. Once politician accuss them, the Jamaican people who said about doing a good job. Once politician cussing them, Jamaican, especially when they're in government. What I have for journalists. Yes, what I have a challenge with is that with all the perceptions we have had, we have never really successfully prosecuted any real serious politician except Jack Smith.
And that Bobby, because he would say chicken feed.
Well, you know, that's exactly what he would be, that he has said in terms of, you know, monies and so on. Jack Smith and one judge, one magistrate, as I recall, who is in halfway tree for corruption, name has eluded me now. Those are the only two persons in the different branches of our government I've ever seen
go to prison.
Yes, or convicted. I don't remember, you know, just convicted. And remember, we have had a lot of corruption perception. The JLP won an election, and Audley was the man who just released everything, revealed everything, the corruption and so forth. But we have not had, which means that there's something amiss. And we need to find out what's amiss and fix it. Otherwise, it's 5% to 6% of GDP. The country can't grow because of the following things. The cost of energy is just too much. And until we fix that, but the cost of corruption, 5 to 6% is estimated of the value of your economy. Corruption eats out.
Right. We have to also in the discussion recognize that the PMP have some individuals who are running for office who have been involved in corruption.
Well, I was speaking about politicians
generally. Yes,
but it's more dangerous when they're in government. Yes. Typically, and that's
you only get corrupt when you're in government.
Absolutely, because
but guys, we're both saying the same thing.
Yes.
That there is and there exists corruption on both sides, and the population is, I would use a very euphemistic word, disgusted, tired of it. But there's no, I think tonight you'll determine if there's an appetite to change that, because the question still stands. If politicians, regardless of whether they're orange or they're green, are all corrupt, does it make a difference?
The question is who carries the heavier baggage tonight. Robust discussion. Stay with us as the Jamaica Observer continues to cover election night, election day 2025. We'll be right back.
He's saving to make sure that this one doesn't have to worry about student loans. This is Tevin. He's saving to make sure that next year he can live by his own rules. And this is Janelle. She's saving to make sure that the girl's trip to Greece makes it out of the group chat. They all have one thing in common. They're JN Bank savings. Saving little by little is what makes life affordable. Stop wishing you could. With your JN Bank savings, you absolutely can. JN Bank, we'll help you find a way.
Need a AC to cool the temperature. Get chilled and start out your summer.
ATL, Panasonic's exclusive distributor in Jamaica, now brings you the all-new R32 air conditioners. Powered by eco-friendly R32 gas, which uses 30% less refrigerant, you get to cool faster, save more, and protect the planet. Thanks to inverter technology, you get top performance with real savings on your monthly bill, starting at just $59,999.
Start out your summer with ATL.
Terms and conditions apply.
Shifters, you don't know it's a boy any clue, and this is where car culture meets real life.
Yeah, trendsetter, whoa, league of my own, it don't get better. No, read what I wrote, I'm a bestseller. Yeah, bullseye hit it the most, is no misses. Blindfold on me, I still got the most vision.
Okay, girl, I see you.
Trendsetter, whoa.
By little is what makes life affordable. Stop wishing you could. With your JN Bank savings, you absolutely can. JN Bank, we'll help you find a way.
Need a AC fi cool the temperature. Get chilled and start out the summer.
ATL, Panasonic's exclusive distributor in Jamaica, now brings you the all-new R32 air conditioners. Powered by eco-friendly R32 gas, which uses 30% less refrigerant, you get to cool faster, save more, and protect the planet. Thanks to inverter technology, you get top performance with real savings on your monthly bill, starting at just $59,999.
Start out your summer with ATL.
Terms and conditions apply.
Shifters, you don't know it's a boy in a clue, and this is where car culture meets real life.
All right, welcome back to Jamaica Decides 2025. I'm your host, David Brown. So now we're going to throw to the focus group again to look at the macro things versus the micro things. What matters most to Jamaicans? Is it the state of the larger economy, or is it the small things? We're looking at things like the misery index. So let's turn to our focus group once more.
The misery index is high. I think, if I want to use the social services in which to improve my life, they're very difficult to access. The JUTC does not have an app. I can't stand outside my gate and reasonably know where the bus is and if it's coming. I have to wait in vain. I think in 2025, where cars can drive themselves, the basic app needs to be there. Water is another big issue. They have lockoffs every year. They're bright, they're intelligent, they have 50 diplomas, but they can't figure out how to get me piped water consistently. Garbage is another big thing. Everywhere you go, it stinks. You can't figure out how to get the garbage truck to run on time. The basic things that are needed for a democracy cannot be met and should be met. And whoever is elected must account for those granular level things. Another basic area is security. I can't afford to go to the gym. I shouldn't be forced to go to a gym. I want to be able to use the streets. I want to be able to walk. There are a lot of people that are mentally unstable on the streets. You cannot call the mental health unit and be assured that they will answer the phone.
Parties tend to look at more macro stuff, and the minor issues get lost.
Are they wrong to do so?
Eh?
Are they wrong to do so?
Yes, but I suppose they will say that use of time, because all right, some people have a cynical view of politicians. You only see them when election is near. The road get fixed when election is near. Different things improve when election is near. So most politicians treat people like they are idiots, that they don't have no memory. And so that's why 20%, I think 20% voted the last time, or 30%.
30.
Right, that's why the majority don't vote, because they are cynical about everything that they hear. That is a big problem in Jamaica. So they need to get to speak about the small things. As this Mary said, that an app for JUTC is a good idea. Never thought of it. But the average man could go on his phone, look on the app and see when the bus is supposed to come. So him don't go there and stand on the bus stop for 1-2 hours and the bus not coming. So there's some simple things. The garbage schedule, when light goes out from JPS, sometimes you don't get a text that they have a problem. Like them 1 in 5 them do that. When water goes, so water just goes away like every week. The area I live in, water goes away almost every week. And nothing from NWC. These are some of this little but important and critical issues. And I hope that politicians need to, what you see that them only talk now, After election done, a time to spend money.
I'm actually glad that he said, most politicians, they think Jamaicans are idiots. them no know say right now we are gaining our sense of identity. You know, we know who we are and we know that we deserve more than this. Now, why should I get up and say, oh, mega vote, but still yet the road in my community full of beer pothole and all of them things? Why should I get up and vote when, and I'm talking about lived experiences. Why should I get up and vote when my mother is struggling day to day, you know, living hand to mouth?
All right, so we are joined on set now by O'Neill Madden. O'Neill, I want to start with you. The members of the focus group talked about garbage collection, cleaning the drains, fixing potholes, not having running water at times. Why aren't we there? Why are we still struggling in 2025?
A very good question, and I can relate to some of what what was said in the clip just now. Having grown up in a rural community, not seen some of these things being manifested. I think our leaders and our systems, those who are in charge, the garbage collection unit and stuff, they have really not been playing their role as to how they should have been doing that. And these are basic things that should be addressed. Like, these are basic necessities that you'd imagine that any decent running country should have under control. And, we just came out of another year of independence, and having gone over 60 years of independence, one would imagine that these are things that would have been, on par with other places in the world. And so I just feel like our leaders have, I heard the conversation earlier about corruption and money going elsewhere. Our leaders have failed us in that regard to really implement things in place and to reach people and to give them the basic things that will make their lives easier.
So it's the short-term mentality that's a big part of our problem. The waste management Jamaica situation in Jamaica is in crisis. It's not just the collection from your home. Jamaica does not have one sanitary landfill. And that we mean that a landfill where you put the waste that meet international standard in terms of environment and so forth. Not one. The largest landfill is on a riverhead, that it, in river where it puts out, that's Riverton. That's why it's called Riverton. That's where we have the waste. 60% of the waste in the country roughly ends up in Riverton. I hear them talking about waste for energy. We have organic waste. That is not good material to transform. You might get enough to run the plant on the premises and probably light a few street lights here and there. What we need to do is to find a way to have proper sanitary landfills built and operated on the license contract by private sector. They then benefit from tipping fees when the trucks come to tip. We need to shift NWSMA out of operations and get them to become real regulators and invite the private sector to deal with some of the operational sides, say commercial waste, waste that is biohazard waste. All of that kind of things should be dealt with by private sector on contract with the commercial entities. So what we have is the polluter pays principle. The more you pollute, the more you import pollutants in the country, the more you pay. So until we have a system, now the PNP had begun it under Paddison. That's why we got the NSW in the late, under with assistance from the World Bank, International Development Bank. But we didn't go the distance. So what happened? They canceled the rest of the loan. More than 60% of the loan was canceled because we were not putting up the matching funds as a government. It was a joint project. We weren't putting the matching funds, so they canceled it. The waste management is in a crisis. We depend on our environment as one of the major things. Small island state, our environment is everything. And then I looked in the manifestos. The JLP has a little bit more. But when I looked to the PNP side, I saw bullet points. A small paragraph with bullet points on waste management. And I was just taken aback. I was like, these guys don't understand what's going on then. The JLP does have a little bit more. Didn't satisfy me. They didn't acknowledge the significance of the problem that we have. We're talking billions of dollars to outlay sanitary landfills,
Priorities. And I liked what Mary said. We have 50 diplomas, but we can't figure it out. And I'm not lie. If book up one doctor or two in a civil service on one day in a small transaction, you're not doing your job, because they're educated, they have the knowledge. I think we need to get to that point where I mentioned it earlier in terms of infrastructure. We don't build on the legacy of each government. We spend a lot of time tearing down what one government has done rather than appreciating it. It's a marathon. You may not have won, and I'm saying this today because both of them can't win.
So we've talked about the resources not being allocated to deal with these things, but O'Neill, I want to ask you about government efficiency. So you see long lines when you go to pay your taxes and to do and to interact with other government agencies. How do we fix that?
Well, I think one of the things we can probably commend the Jamaica Labour Party government for doing is to start or continue to some extent the digitization process of getting a lot of these administrative things online. I've seen people commending different government associations, organizations, including PICA, with, like getting your passport sorted out in record time. And so that's where we really need to get. And because my job, for example, is very flexible and I appreciate it. So I teach full-time, I lecture full-time, I can go to some of these business places in times when I don't have classes or days when I don't have classes. But I think about people who have a full 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever the case is. At what point do you get time off work to go and do some administrative stuff that's going to take you 4 hours, 5 hours? Your day's pretty much wasted. Might as well you didn't go to work any at all. So we really need to improve that through digitization, and maybe some of the things that we demand of people. I think sometimes the process is so bureaucratic that some of the things that we ask people for are just really not needed. So get rid of some of these things, and it should be efficient.
And both parties are committed to doing that.
Modernizing how we govern. That's really what it is. She talked about that app at the bus stop. You talk about looking at the fact that we need to have a better waste management system. One of the points I think we need to also examine is what you just said, services.
Yes.
How do we, and how does the civil service, and I think you want a caring civil service. I mean, all of us have a story about the uncaring civil servant. And remember now that the civil service is the largest employer. So we want to see a little bit more digitization, a more transformative approach to governance, and one that builds. You see things, you work with what you get. If you can improve it, you improve it. If you can't improve it, then you replace it with something better. But we haven't seen that coming out of the manifestos. We haven't seen it in the presentations. What we're seeing at the end of the day is that responsiveness. And you made a point about service, the small, short memory. This is what we're doing. But the long-term attitude to ensure that there is retained transformation, we need to challenge that a little bit more.
So, Claude, I want to switch to the macro. Based on what you've heard from folks on the ground, which is more appealing? The gradual reduction in the income tax rate, or the increase in the income tax threshold from 1.8 million to 3.5 million?
Well, I must confess to say, one of the things I don't speak about is something I don't know anything about.
Okay.
So I don't have the tools to really assess and the numbers. You'd have to have the data and the tools. I'm talking the economic and financial tools. I'm a lawyer. I don't have that.
Same here.
Right. So I can assess an argument when made or a presentation, but I don't have the tools. So I leave that in so far. What I'm disappointed is the timing of these huge suggestions in terms of impact on fiscal policy. You can't have a situation where you publish a manifesto. You do admit the Labour Party did say in its manifesto that we'll keep it under review, but there is no specifics. And then within X time of publishing the manifesto, you now come 3 days before and you lay out this big grand proposal. Similarly in the People's National Party and so on. So I have a real difficulty with the timing of these huge proposals that impact on. Now, I'm not going to be prepared to say it must fail or it can't work, because I remember when the JLP had said 1.5 people had said it can't work. Well, they found a way to make it work. No, because I'm a realist, every account has a debit and a credit, every account. So if you shift funds from here, then obviously somewhere else going to fail. But what I notice is, notwithstanding having done it, the macroeconomic numbers are still in the right direction, which says to me that more can be done for the poor. More can be done for the poor. No, I'm not saying about this. I'm just saying more can be done for the poor, because if we achieve that with a massive pay down on debt, because there was a time I thought we were paying no debt too hard. You owe the banker some money, but the banker say you can give him $20 every month and you want to give him $100. Right? You're not paying on the principal and you just go and give him $100 every month. So I thought we were paying on the debt, but I'm not an economist. I'm just saying, but we have to can fix the road them and the broken pipe here, the healthcare, education. So when we get, I'm not boasting at 62% debt to GDP. I'm not boasting on that number. I'm saying we must get the debt thing in alignment, but that seemed to have been very steep, where we have left little for the maintenance of our sector. So I don't have the tools to answer the question, but I'm happy when the base is lifted. I'm happy when the base is lifted. Poor people can get better for themselves.
So speaking about poor people, O'Neill, the Prime Minister announced on Sunday that the Jamaica Labour Party in its next term will gradually increase double the minimum wage. Now, talking about macro versus micro, you see where both business leaders and ordinary man, teachers, nurses, other civil servants are complaining that they can't afford it. What's your take on that?
Well, I've seen the discussions. I know people are saying, all right, when both parties mentioned about whether the GLP is reducing of income tax or the People's National Party increasing the threshold, people are saying, okay, we welcome that, more people have disposable income. But when we look at like the minimum wage suggestion of improvement, people are questioning
over 5 years.
Right, and it's over a 5-year period, and people are questioning that. And it's like on the one hand, we're saying, okay.
I've grown up in Central Illinois all of my life. Who would think that I am caught up in tariff trade wars? It's completely crazy to think about that. Hi, I'm Julia Hines, the owner of Country Junction here in Clinton. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to carry this line anymore. It's a beautiful line. Normally, shipping charge for all of this is $49. When we got the bill this year, it was $497. Astronomical. We can't afford it.
I think that's what is lacking.
I think the effect of that, though, if you look at it in basic terms, is if you're going to be paying your helper $32,000, then you're going to be asking, is the income of the person paying going to go up? If it's not going to go up, realistically speaking, if you have a gardener and a housekeeper, as I heard one person say, well, either the gardener have got to start the housekeeping work or the housekeeper have got to start the gardening because your salary isn't going up. And one of the things that I believe, if you look at the misery index, when people talk about the cost of living, yes, you say things are really good, but every 5 days you go to the grocery, by the time you pick up a tin of milk, the price changes with the weekend. And because of inflation, because of whatever, as you properly said, I'm a lawyer, not an economist. I can only speak to what I experience when I go to the store. You're going to ask yourself, so nothing really go on for me. So I understand the need to ensure that you pay a livable wage. And I want to put this caveat to all listeners. It's a minimum wage. It means that this is the least, the smallest amount you're supposed to pay. If you can pay more, realistically speaking, you should.
It's a process. I believe in institutional governance. I don't believe in unilateralism. So there is a minimum wage advisory commission set up by the Minimum Wage Act.
That's right.
And there are 3 permanent members, and the minister who has responsibility can invite workers' representatives and employer representatives. I believe in things being done properly and in a structured way. So for the Prime Minister to unilaterally say, we're going to double it, guys, I'm not objecting to a constant review and upgrading based on the processes. But I reject unilateralism because it is not properly thought through. And it's not fair. No representation from workers, no representation from employers, the impact it will have, running off the numbers and so forth. It may be that doubling may not be realistic, but we may be able to still have some improvement over time.
Just to quickly touch on your point, Daniel, both the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition have spoken, they've talked about organic growth in the economy to afford some of these things that they're putting out there. So for the PNP, it's the income tax threshold, and for the JLP, they're increasing the minimum wage.
But the hypocrisy of it, though, and this is perhaps where, because we're doing the political analyzing, is you're going to offer 32 in 5 years in such a upstick, and notice the increase that we've been having over that period of time, and then teachers and others saying, so look at what you did give me, 0 to 2, and then 1 next time. Oh, that work.
I wonder if we should move to a system where all all the folks in the civil service are on a particular grade. So
no, but that's what they were doing with the reclassification. They were doing that with the reclassification, and that's the challenge that we've encountered with the reclassification.
They reduced it from some serious number to, I remember Nigel keeps speaking about it. It was out of this world, but they have reduced it to something more manageable. So I accept that we need to modernize and streamline. What I reject is a unilateral approach to decision making when there are other stakeholders that are critical to that decision itself, and made at a time when it just seemed like an election gimmick. So in other words, what you're doing, you're using a legitimate need and issue, and you are bastardizing it through political gain at election time. So because it's a legitimate issue. It is a legitimate issue, but you're using it and bastardizing it in terms of
socialization, socialism. When I tell you, say it's not socialism, it's a quest for power, because that's how it comes across. It doesn't come across as a genuine need or a socialist enough policy. What it looks as if I'm responding to you, I've read the tea leaves, and this is what the people want, and I'm responding to it at the expense of other people who've been waiting in line saying, but you give them already. So how come you just quick and fast and give them that, and I'm still waiting?
Not properly thought through. A response to the criticism that the lived lives were not matching the macroeconomic numbers for most people. It's a colonial economy we're running.
I'm speaking to the autocratic nature, as Clyde has said. He says, you know, there are mechanisms in place. There is a team, there's a system, there's a method of review, but you're doing it because you have that awesome power, and you can do it because you want to respond to your base. And this is all part of when we speak about how leader-centric it is and whether or not this is what people like. Because if it works, you can't say that it's not responsive to the people.
Right.
If it doesn't work, then people are going to see it as being an element to try to regain power. And in colloquial terms, they're going to say, oh, I'm desperate, the man desperate, so I'm going to offer something.
Let me just say,
so just want to hear on you.
Well, I think the same principle, again, none of us weren't economists, but I think the same principle could be leveled towards the People's National Party, who, at least in my estimation and in what I've seen others saying, that they're saying about the income rights, the threshold, what just came about out of nowhere.
So I will say I'm looking forward to transitioning from the economy, because I'm a lawyer, I'm not an economist either. So we are going to quickly now turn.
But the point that is being made is that it caused listeners and electors to become cynical of the process. Yeah. Because these two guys competing for office, and in the last minute, they might throw some big economic bombs.
Okay. All right. So we're going to keep on this for just a minute longer. I want to look at crime. It's not being talked about that much. Yeah. Something that I've noted, Mark Golding criticizes the government for the increase in crime, the murder rate, but praises the police whenever there's a reduction. Of course, I guess that's politics, but what's your take on that?
Politics.
Well, you just said it's politics, because on the one hand, I believe you have to give credit to, if you're giving credit to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, which is governed by the Ministry of National Security, you have to give credit to the government by large, because the government has made some amount of investment in the resources that are given to the police, to conduct their duties. So, I think on the one hand, it's like, okay, and by the way, I think everybody is happy that we're seeing a reduction in crime. But for me, it's sort of hypocritical, like, I think Daniel said it.
On whose part?
On the opposition. I think Daniel said it earlier. We can, and this is something that I have a problem with in politics. We can oppose, but we can give credit.
Absolutely.
We can give credit. Like, I see what has been what's going on. I've seen the investment. I can give you credit. Right. Can more be done? Yes, and you point out what can be done, but to sort of come off blatantly as though the government has no role in it, I don't appreciate that. And whichever party that does that, I don't appreciate
that. We saw diatribe that we're not going to say, oh, that is a good idea, because what you hear is your teeth manifesto. Yeah. You hear? Mm-hmm. Rather than in a debate, Clyde, you extend the conversation. Yeah. So it's a good argument.
That's correct.
It's a good argument.
That's correct.
But I'm going to bring something to the table to make it better.
That's correct.
And I think as we transition, as people become more interested in the process, as you have more discussions within the civic space, you have to try to let people understand that there's nothing wrong with saying, you did a good job, you know, I can do better though. I am better for it, yeah?
I mean,
and tell me, not just that I am better, but tell me how you're going to make it better.
No, this is not to justify, but it seems like a hangover from you know, slavery and so on, where we just don't want to look on the next black man and say, yo, what are you in? No, so we have to find it in ourselves to be able to say to one another, great job. Great job, because you can't build a nation upon labor rights alone, nor can you build it upon PNP people alone. It's simple. It's a tug of war. Labor right PNP a tug against it, now go nowhere. The people them get stuck in the middle, now go nowhere. So I was severely disappointed when the position of the PNP in terms of its speaking points on the campaign is that no credit to the JLP government for the reduction, the significant reduction in crime. None at all.
Well, I suppose, and you don't stone the TV when I say what I'm about to say, or the phone. But at the end of the day, you're going to hear what the PNP did was to try to say, look, we put the things in place before.
From 2016.
And you was working on it. And you try, well, I tell you what me hear. We did try the SOE and say it now work. So they have to try something else. But all this time, we helped you to make investments in the digital transformation of the force. Here's my point. Needle and thread. You can't sew without the thread or the needle, right?
Yes.
And that is where governments, in showing that they're growing and transforming, have to get to a point where they can recognize that for us to get where we are today, one party did something. What did they do?
Yes. That's correct.
And then build on that, which is what the Jamaica Labour Party really did. Because there was a lot, if you look back at what has been over the past, Mr. Bunting wasn't the only one who asked for divine intervention.
Every single
The labor rights also asked for divine intervention. Yes? Allow me to tell? So everybody had a challenge. At the end of the day, after many attempts, something seems to finally stuck.
Yes. But you see what we got out of the debates though is, it was under Bruce Golding that this was established, or Siaga brought, you know, this, and then the PNP rebutted to say, no, it's manly that.
Because we're individualized to the point where, remember, we started this conversation, we're so leader-centric that we no longer focus on what is good for Jamaicans, and I'm not making a pun on that.
All right.
We need to focus a little bit more on what's good for all of us.
Really engaging discussion. Thank you to my panelists. So we're going to throw to Studio B now with Kwame, Thomas, and Dashan Hendricks. I believe some numbers are coming in, so throwing over to them now.
Welcome back to our viewers. A very robust discussion happening in Studio B. Good points raised all. But right now we're looking at the streets and we're seeing that of the 7,294 boxes, approximately 58 has been counted. And as we look right here now, as a matter of fact, I think it's best for me to ask Dashan to just give us a snapshot of what's happening here.
Well, as you can see, the results are really preliminary. Nothing counted yet, but the PNP is leading in 12 seats so far, the JP in 3. Out of 58 boxes, 58 out of 7,294 boxes counted so far. Many of these constituencies, only about 1 or 2 boxes have been counted so far. And the results are coming. Westmoreland Eastern, it's close so far. The PNP leading by just 6 votes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 votes alone in Westmoreland Eastern. In St. Thomas Eastern, the PNP is targeting this seat. Dr. Michelle Charles won that seat in 2020. The PNP is going after it right now. They are leading there by 35 votes. St. James Southern, another PNP seat that was flipped in 2020. The PNP is going after that, again, leading by 45 votes there. And St. Andrew West Rural, now this is a seat that normally votes JLP. The PNP leading by 104 in that seat. But remember, these are preliminary counts so far. They are not the results so far. The results will change over time as we go along today. But look here, Manchester Central, Rhoda Moy Crawford lost all her council seats. Belfield, Royal Flat, Mandeville, and Knockpatrick in the 2024 local government election. But look here, she's in by 78 seats over the PNP's Mayor Donovan Mitchell in Manchester Central. So the results are coming in preliminary. We can just look at some more constituencies.
Any constituency that you had in mind?
Well, let's start with St. Andrew. Well, St. Andrew Eastern, Patricia Duncan Sutherland contesting with Favor Williams. PNP's after this, 2 divisions. Mona Papine. The JLP racks up most of its votes here in Mona, the PNP in Papine. It's about who can get more votes in their division, which will take this seat home for either the PNP or the JLP. But Fable, put nothing past her. She's a warrior. She fights in this seat.
So what about anywhere else in St. Andrew? Could we, for example, look here? Is there anything that we have to say about this particular constituency?
Not yet. The JLP is expected to retain the seat. This is Carl Samuda's old seat in St. Andrew North Central. Still again, the JLP is expected to retain the seat as well. St. Andrew Northeastern with Delroy Chuck, but nothing in here yet. We're still awaiting results from that.
Well, I think, so are we in a position though to say that this should be relatively close, as in we have newcomer here, well, it's a newcomer, Stacey Knight, she's the daughter of
Katie Knight.
So we're expecting to hear some things from her as well on the road.
Well, she believes she can win, but in all reality, we expect this to still be retaining JLP column.
All right.
Now, this is St. Andrew Northwestern. This is a seat that is contested by Dwayne Smith. It's the Finance Minister Nigel Clarke's old seat. Dwayne Smith, we are expecting him to retain this seat. No boxes as yet have been counted in it. No results in this seat as yet. St. Andrew Southeastern, the PNP's Julian Robinson contesting with Kevin Frith. It likes no results in this seat as yet, but we continue.
And the expectation is that Julian Robinson should retain this particular seat as well.
But we have to wait to see all the ballots counted before
just want to remind our viewers here that these are just the preliminary counts. There's nothing concrete just yet.
This seat, St. Andrew Southern, Portia Simpson Miller's old seat, she carried it for the PNP, winning it from in the 70s, coming until she resigned and gave it over to Angela Brown-Burke. Now, this is the PNP leader, Mark J. Golding in St. Andrew Southern, and he's expected to maintain this seat, but no votes in this seat as yet. No ballots have been counted so far. 86 boxes, 0 boxes counted so far.
For this one, we see Paul Buchanan, and nothing has been counted yet of the 105 boxes.
But I must, we're having some issues getting some of the data, but there are some issues. The boxes may be counted, but results are not populated here as yet. So we are just checking back for the data over and over and over to bring it to you live as we go on.
So let us try for somewhere else, perhaps Manchester Central.
Let's go to Manchester Central, where Rhoda Moy Crawford is leading. Manchester Central right there, yeah. There it is, Rhoda Moy Crawford. The PNP went after this seat. They believe if they're going to win, they have to take Central Manchester again. Peter Bunting was in the seat, he's gone to Southern Manchester. Donovan Mitchell is contesting the seat. As I said again, the PNP won all 4 council divisions in Manchester last year. Rhoda is under pressure there, but she's leading right now, 349 to 271 votes. But remember, only 6 boxes counted so far out of 139. So we read nothing much into that result so far.
Anything else that we should be considering here, though, as we continue with the counting?
Well, if the PNP is going to take Manchester Central, they have to rack up most of their votes in the Belfield division. That division is a strong PNP seat in Central Manchester. Knockpatrick, Royal Flats, Mandeville. The mayor is the councillor for Mandeville. He has to bring that home if he's going to take Central Manchester over Rhoda Moy Crawford this evening.
But based on what you have said, though, it would appear as though all the odds are stacked against Rhoda Moy Crawford, based on the fact that she has lost all her council seats so far.
It would appear that way, but again, elections are won on the day. It is who is able to bring out their voters to vote. And so far, 6 boxes out of 139, nothing to write about. That's less than 5% of the boxes counted so far, but Rhoda Moy Crawford is leading so far, 56% of all the votes counted so far.
Wow. So not a whole lot yet to expect. We continue to watch, we continue to keep you updated. And right now, we're just going to throw back to our friends over in Studio A to continue on this robust discussion. Continue to stay with us. You're watching us on the Observer channel live.
All right, thank you, Kwame and Dashan. So, pretty early. It is very early.
10 o'clock, we can have a sense.
Right.
But I'll tell you this.
Go ahead.
Party stalwarts already and organizers already have a sense of what has happened on the ground already.
a little bit too, not a little, we way early, because we need to get an assessment of what is happening on the ground. There was moderate rainfall in some parts that sometimes dampens the votes, you know, it dampens votes because people can't come out. So you've had Kingston, Montego Bay, Spanish Town, Mandeville, Ocho Rios, and Negril that had scattered showers. There is an expectation that you're going to have a voter turnout of over 50%. Rumor has it now that, and I say rumor because we can't confirm, it's 48% or thereabouts. So you're still going to be looking to see when the boxes come down, what is going to be happening. I hear mutterings about Belfield in favor of Rhoda. One of the things we need to look at is the constituencies in which members of parliament have done work. Yes, so we're going to have to factor that in, because it's not fair to say that all member of parliaments didn't do work.
All right, so it's only going to get hotter later tonight as the numbers continue to come in. So stay with us as the Jamaica Observer gives you live coverage of Election Day 2025.
This is Mark. He's saving to make sure that this one doesn't have to worry about student loans. This is Tevin. He's saving to make sure that next year he can live by his own rules. And this is Janelle. She's saving to make sure that the girl's trip to Greece makes it out of the group chat. They all have one thing in common. They're JN Bank savings. Saving little by little is what makes life affordable. Stop wishing you could. With your JN Bank savings, you absolutely can. JN Bank, we'll help you find a way.
Need a AC to cool the temperature, get chilled and start out your summer.
ATL, Panasonic's exclusive distributor in Jamaica, now brings you the all-new R32 air conditioners. Powered by eco-friendly R32 gas, which uses 30% less refrigerant, you get to cool faster, save more, and protect the planet. Thanks to inverter technology, you get top performance with real savings on your monthly bill, starting at just $59,999.
Start out your summer with ATL!
Terms and conditions apply.
Shifters, you don't know it's a boy any clue, and this is where car culture meets real life.
This is Mark. He's saving to make sure that this one doesn't have to worry about student loans. This is Tevin. He's saving to make sure that next year he can live by his own rules. And this is Janelle. She's saving to make sure that the girl's trip to Greece makes it out of the group chat. They all have one thing in common. They're JN Bank savings. Saving little by little is what makes life affordable. Stop wishing you could. With your JN Bank savings, you absolutely can. JN Bank, we'll help you find a way.
Need a AC to cool the temperature. Get chilled and start out your summer.
ATL, Panasonic's exclusive distributor in Jamaica, now brings you the all-new R32 air conditioners. Powered by eco-friendly R32 gas, which uses 30% less refrigerant, you get to cool faster, save more, and protect the planet. Thanks to inverter technology, you get top performance with real savings on your monthly bill, starting at just $59,999.
Start out your summer with ATL.
Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Jamaica Decision 2025. I'm your host, Kwame Thomas, and I'm here with Dashan Hendricks. Right now, Dashan, we're hearing that you have some interesting information to share with us from the EOJ.
Well, our reporter, Karina Bennett, is at the EOJ right now, and she's feeding in information to us. She said that activity has picked up here at the election center, where the results dashboard is now up and on screen, tracking progress across all 63 constituencies. Remember, the figures are still preliminary, but it shows the PNP leading ahead, as we have showed earlier, and the numbers are changing. So far, she says the highest vote is coming from St. Elizabeth Northwestern. And then you have votes also in Clarendon Northwestern. And the understanding is that after a quiet start, journalists are gathering because the results are coming and they're reporting it. Well, let's take a look at some of the results that are coming in.
So right now we start with St. Elizabeth Northwestern. We see a total of 7 of the 87 boxes have been counted. What are your views on these?
The JLP is expected to retain the seat in St. Elizabeth. It's J.C. Hutchinson's old seat. The JLP now being represented by Andrew Morris, and the PNP's Patricia Scarlett Forrester. So far, Morris is leading 7 out of 87 boxes. The JLP is expected to retain this seat, leading right now.
So it has been said that when you look at St. Elizabeth Northwestern and then St. Elizabeth Northeastern, they are close. They tend to follow each other.
A big shocker delivered in this constituency in 2020.
Yeah.
Delroy slowly took this constituency, a PNP stronghold. Never lost it before. The first time they lost it in 2020. Delroy slowly racking the votes there. Zulika Jess from the PNP contesting that seat right now. The PNP wants to take the seat back in their column. If they're going to win tonight, they have to take St. Elizabeth Northeastern.
Wow. And so we head over to St. Elizabeth Southwestern with Miranda Wellington and Floyd Green.
This is the bellwether seat. Every election in Jamaica since 1962, the government has won this seat. No election has been won by any government without them taking the seat. Miranda Wellington in St. Elizabeth Southwestern for the PNP, contesting against the incumbent, Floyd Green. The JP are pretty confident in St. Elizabeth Southwestern, but so too is the People's National Party, who wants to take this because they believe if they can take the seat, it will make a signal as to where the election is going this evening.
Wow. And so we look closely now at St. Elizabeth Southeastern with Norman Scott versus Franklin R. Witter.
It's Franklin Witter's seat. It's a JLP seat. Norman Scott leaving as the mayor of Spanish Town, going into St. Elizabeth to contest this seat. Let's see what happens in there between Norman Scott and Franklin Witter. No boxes counted so far of 109, so we still await results.
All right, so we move over to our next parish, Manchester Northwestern, with Michael Phillips, up against Damian St.C. Young.
This was the only seat the People's National Party kept in Manchester in the 2020 election. The only one. They lost the other two, Central Manchester and Manchester Southern. But Michael Phillips contesting in here, only a single box counted so of 104. So that's less than 1% of the boxes counted. But so far getting 76 votes to the JLP's 41 and the JPP getting a single vote in that constituency. But the PNP is expected to retain that seat.
And so now we move over to Manchester Northeastern with Clive Warren. Oh, wow.
Well, Valentin went to the PNP, has designs on this seat, Aldershaw's old seat, but the Prime Minister has flown in Alger Marks to take over that seat for the Jamaica Labour Party. She has been gaining traction so far, but no boxes counted so far out of 111. We still await results there.
And so now we head down to Manchester Southern with Peter Bunting.
Well, the PNP wants this seat. It was a PNP seat before. The JLP flipped it in 2020. Peter Bunting is gone down there from Central Manchester, trying to put it back in the PNP column. 2 boxes counted so far. Peter Bunting leading so far over Ian Eves and Karen Scott of the JPP. 126 to 61, double the amount of votes that Ian Ives has gotten.
So what are your expectations as far as this is concerned?
Well, we wait and see. But if you are to go with history and knowing that in an election such as we had in 2020, a lot of these seats were flipped.
Yeah.
If the PNP is going to win tonight, they'll have to flip back those seats. And this is one of them. They believe they'll have to flip back to win the election today. Similar with Manchester Central, it was always a marginal seat, but tended to vote PNP. Rhoda Crawford flipped it to the JLP. The PNP is trying to get that back in its column for this election. 6 boxes counted so far out of 139. The PNP is trailing Donovan Mitchell, the mayor of Mandeville, trailing Rhoda Crawford, who is the incumbent MP right now.
I want us to take a look up in the West to see what's happening there, to see what can. No boxes have been counted yet.
Yeah, but I mean, St. James East Central, St. James Northwestern, they're expected to go JLP. This is a very strong JLP seat in St. James, as well as Northwestern, which is represented by the JLP's Horace Chang. Now this seat, the PNP have targeted St. James Southern again. Traditional PNP seat, Derek Kelly left it in 2020. The PNP lost the seat to Oma Davis. Oma Davis contesting it again. Nikisha Burchell going to that seat. She's from St. James Southern. She's racking up the votes here so far, but again, only 4 boxes out of 110. We can't read too much into that right now.
And so we head over to St. James West Central.
This is the battleground seat in St. James. Marlene Malahou Ford versus Andre Hon. These two were at it in 2020. Marlene beat him by less than 2,000. Now he believes he can flip that seat right now. Marlene believes she'll be holding on to it, but results from this will determine where the election is going. Wherever the West goes,
the rest goes.
The rest goes.
All right, so we go a little closer here. We look at St. James Central.
This very hard to call. No boxes counted so far, but Hira Clark versus Janice Allen. We still await results from there.
All right. So we now head over to Hanover Eastern, where we see, wow.
The JLP's Dave Brown returning. I mean, last year's local government election, the JLP swept Hanover 7-0. Traditionally, Hanover Western votes PNP, but Tamika Davis won it the last time. Dave Brown won it the last time as well. The PNP is trying to flip the eastern side, but they have more confidence in getting the eastern side, the western side of Hanover, where Tamika Davis is contesting the seat versus Mrs. Miller Bennett. The PNP wants to get back the seat. If they get back the seat, then the West will be changing. So far, the PNP leading 35 to 22 in vote. It says 0, but at least a box has been counted so far. Now, Westmoreland, the PNP The JLP turned Westmoreland green in 2020. Westmoreland was always a reliable PNP country in terms of votes, but swept it all. Ian Hales going up against Garfield James in Westmoreland Western. No boxes counted so far. This is going to be a keenly contested seat tonight. We need to watch Westmoreland Western.
Westmoreland Central.
No, Westmoreland Central, Dwayne Vaz lost to George Wright in 2020. He's trying to regain the seat for the PNP. No boxes counted so far, but this is going to be keenly contested. Roger Clark's old seat, remember. Now, this seat was supposed to be the strongest seat for the PNP in Westmoreland Eastern. It's PJ Patterson's old seat. Dayton Campbell, the General Secretary for the PNP, has gone into, excuse me, has gone into Westmoreland Eastern to try to win back the seat for the PNP. Supposed to be the strongest PNP seat in Westmoreland.
Wow.
How this goes will determine how the election goes. But the PNP has its eyes set on Westmoreland, but so too does the JLP. They want to take Westmoreland Western. They don't want to lose Westmoreland. They want to at least retain a couple of seats in Westmoreland, if not all. Tonight, but the PNP wants to get all as much as the JLP wants.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Continue to stay with us for Jamaica Decides 2025 here at the Jamaica Observer. We will be right back after these brief messages.
This is Mark. He's saving to make sure that this one doesn't have to worry about student loans. This is Tevin. He's saving to make sure that next year he can live by his own rules. And this is Janelle. She's saving to make sure that the girls' trip to Greece makes it out of the group chat. They all have one thing in common. They're JN Bank savings. Saving little by little is what makes life affordable. Stop wishing you could. With your JN Bank savings, you absolutely can. JN Bank, we'll help you find a way.
ATL, Panasonic's exclusive distributor in Jamaica, now brings you the all-new R32 air conditioners. Powered by eco-friendly R32 gas, which uses 30% less refrigerant, you get to cool faster, save more, and protect the planet. Thanks to inverter technology, you get top performance with real savings on your monthly bill, starting at just $59,999.
Start out your summer with ATL!
Terms and conditions apply.
Shifters, you don't know it's a boy in a clue, and this is where car culture meets real life.
big up Sutherland TV. You see me? You wanna be me? Then log on to Sutherland TV.